All right, we are getting live. We're a minute late behind schedule, but it's 9 o'clock. Why'd you give me that look?
It is 9 o'clock.
You can't. You have to talk like there's people in the room, Beth, when you do this online live thing. You don't have to whisper. Uh, I'm Jeff Moody. I'm the lead pastor at Revolve Church. I'm excited about doing this. We've done this before. We did it this last semester, but quite a bit different last semester. And this semester we're changing things up a little bit. We're not having a video session that we're going to require people to watch. We're actually going to host the video session, but this will be something live every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. We've got some plans in the future to bring guests in, so they'll be able to watch. And another neat thing is that this will be archived on our YouTube channel, so you'll be able to watch this thing. We've titled this group Living a Life-Giving Life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what we call it?
That's what we call it.
Living a life-giving life. I think before we ever get started, why do we want to call it that? Living a life-giving life.
Well, because we want to be life-giving. And this series is about relationships and how to be life-giving in every aspect of every relationship. Your marriage, your parenting style with your family, maybe extended family, in the workplace. I think that Christians in general have maybe a bad reputation because our Bible says one thing, but we portray something different. We don't portray Jesus Christ and the life-giving message that He brought. A lot of times when people think of Christians, they think of a whole list of, well, you can't do this and you can't do that. And it just doesn't make Christianity sound very fun. So we want to kind of put a twist on that and bring out the life-giving portion of Jesus. So.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. Like, so many times we're quick to ask people if they're a Christian, or like if you have a daughter or a sister that's getting married. One of the common questions in the South, at least the Bible Belt, is, well, are they a Christian? And we've even kind of relaxed that question a little bit, and now it's, do they belong to a church? And it's like, are they in a church or are they a Christian? But, I don't know why we've simplified that when it really should be, do they live a life-giving life, or do they live a life that would exemplify or show that they follow Jesus? Because it is a very easy to distinguish the difference. Maybe you can relate. It's very easy to distinguish the difference between somebody who lives a life that follows Jesus and someone who doesn't live a life that follows Jesus. And I think a lot of people would say, in the South at least, that they belong to a church or they are a Christian because they've said a prayer or they've walked an aisle or they got in some water or their parents christened them or they went through some sort of class if they were in the Catholicism world, and but they would call themselves a Christian. But that's our objective during this group, isn't really to get people to become Christians. It's to get people to live a life that's
glorifying to Jesus, that's life-giving. I mean, really, plain and simple, that is life-giving.
Where Jesus went, he like gave life to everybody, right?
That's right. So tonight I was going to tell a story, just a really quick story. This small group, we're thinking it's going to last for about 30 to 40.
I would anticipate more than 25 or 30 minutes.
Okay.
As the weeks go, though, we're going to add extra elements. We're probably going to get our own page for this group, so you can go straight to the page and log in. It will be embedded. You'll be able to ask questions on that page. You'll be able to comment on that page. You'll be able to share that page and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I would say 30 to 40 minutes tops, unless we should get into some really good stuff. And I think just kind of one preface for the whole group that everybody should know, but those that do know me and those that don't know me, or whatever time you might be watching this video, I'm an ADD kind of guy, and I have the thoughts of randomness. I think my blog, which I hadn't written on in over 3 years until this week, but it says random thoughts captured. That's kind of my slogan. So I may just throw a random thought in there. I've always got several just kind of bouncing around in my head. I've already got one. I'm going to wait until the end of the night just to leave them with a thought about something very simple in God's Word, but that can help us really be life giving. So,
And I'm more on topic, more on schedule, so I'll try to keep him in line with his ADD so that we're not here all night.
that's right.
So you don't have to join us every week. We would like for you to, but if you miss a week, it's okay. You can hop on at any week that you're available. So, and this video, like you said, will be available throughout the week. So you can kind of catch up. But
if you are watching this though, would you do us a favor and would you write on our Facebook wall and let us know that you at least watched it? And if you didn't enjoy it, just lie to us and tell us that you enjoyed it. But just let us know on Facebook that you watched it and let your friends know that how they can tune in and they can also watch it. So sorry about that. Go ahead.
Okay. Somebody can't get on, so we're sorry if you can't get on. We'll help you for next week. Get on. So I was going to share this quick story, and Jeff and I were talking about this earlier in the week when we were preparing for something coming up in our lives. But I used to have a Honda Accord, a white Honda Accord. It was a pretty new car when I got it. It was a really nice car, but I drove it around for quite a while with it had a terrible shake. Like every time I press on the brakes, it would just, you would just shake. And I had learned over time how to press the brakes easy so that it wouldn't shake so bad, or to kind of coast and then press on the brakes so it wouldn't shake. But one day Jeff and I were in children's ministry, and we decided that we were going to take our children to that was a ministry, to a baseball game. And little do we know that 60 kids were going to show up that day to go to that baseball game. Well, we go, and we had no clue that leaving that baseball game that I would take a ride in an ambulance. My leg had an impact with the baseball, so right off of from the bat.
Isn't there a funny part of that story? Like the baseball. It is kind of funny. The baseball hit, like it came, for those that understand baseball, we were on the first baseline. Like we were sitting on the first baseline at the very end of the seats, and the guy was a right-handed batter, and he hit it, and it came off of his bat, and it went straight into the stands. It never hit anything else. It was a line drive, foul ball that directly beamed her in the leg, and then it flew up off of her leg, and it tipped my hand because I tried to catch it, and then Reagan
caught it with his
glove.
At like 4 or 5 years old. He was really young. It was before I had Braden, who was 5. So, and actually it hit me so hard that I can still feel in my leg where it hit. Like I can still rub my leg.
I'm not going to confirm or deny it.
And feel where that baseball hit my leg.
Some things are psychological.
No. Look, it left the imprint of the ball that was there for like 6 months. It's a long time. So anyways, Jeff thought that it broke my bone in my leg. So he wouldn't let me stand on it. He made me take the ambulance to the nearest hospital. Therefore, someone else had to drive my shaky car home. I think Courtney Henderson, some of you will know Courtney Henderson, but she had to drive my car home. So when she got to my house to leave it, I was really doped up on pain medicine that they gave me at the hospital. And Jeff said that I wouldn't be quiet. I kept talking. But Courtney got to the house and she said, "Babe, your car is really messed up." I was like, "What do you mean my car's messed up?" She said, "It shook the whole way home. I thought that the steering wheel was going to fall off." I was like, "Yeah, I know. I really need to take it." But it had been shaking for so long that I just become accustomed to it. And let me tell you why I just let it shake. Because I would rather have drove the shaky car than taking it to get it fixed. I hate car maintenance. I hate getting my oil changed. I even hate going to get gas. I absolutely hate it. Growing up, actually, I would meet my dad at the gas store in the morning so that he could fill my car up with gas, just so that I didn't have to. I don't like any car maintenance. None of it. I don't like jumping cars off with batteries. I don't like it. So I was avoiding that. Well, when I finally, after that, I realized, okay, I do need to take the car to get it fixed. This is kind of embarrassing. Courtney's called me out on it, and somebody might have to drive my car one day, so I need to go get it fixed. So I took it to the auto mechanic, and I poured it in, and I was like, okay, I really don't have much time, so can you just make this quick and painless? And he said, sure. So he went and he did whatever they do. They put it up on that little stand thing, and he came back in and he said, "Ma'am, your tires are really worn out." And I said, "Fine, put me some new tires on." That's not even why I came here. I stood up and I said, "I came here because my steering wheel is shaking." I said, "Just give me some new tires." And he started laughing at me, and I said, "And fix my steering wheel while you're at it, because that's what I'm here for."
She still talks to people like that too. She's really aggressive.
And he said, "Well, ma'am, I can give you some new tires, but they're going to just wear out too." And I was like, "Then what's the point? Give me something that's not going to wear out. Do something." And he said, "What you need is an alignment." And I was like, "Okay, well, what's an alignment?" And I just really thought that he was trying to sell me something that I really didn't need. So what I ended up figuring out was that the alignment is what aligns the car, what keeps the car straight. And without proper alignment, the tires just wear out. And so what he was trying to tell me is, if I just fix the problem at hand, which was my tires appeared to be worn out,
Yeah.
that it was going to continue to, like in 6 more months, I would be back in the same situation. And I think a lot of times we go through life and we are just trying to fix the problem at hand without the proper alignment.
I think too, like right there, and I don't mean to interrupt you. I just think now would be a good time for you to, wherever you are watching this, to kind of think about that in your life, like even in the real practical terms that she just spoke about. What's really messed up, that's just been messed up for so long that it's become normal to you. It's just become like her car. She was willing to drive it with a shake, and it wasn't because she liked the shake, but she had been around the shake for so long.
Yeah, and it was easier to drive it with the shake than deal with the problem.
Yeah,
it's just easier to do that. So
I got a good friend, Chris Puckett. He might be. I know you think I'm interrupting you, but I want to just make sure this is really relevant to you guys. A real good friend of mine, Chris Puckett, one time that we were at his house in Alabama, and he said, we were talking about a project that I was working on at my house, and Beth said, "Jeff's never going to finish that project because she thinks I take forever to get things done sometimes." But Carrie Puckett, Chris's wife, said, I want you to get up, come here to my bathroom." And we went in here to his bathroom, and he had taped off all the walls to be painted, and
he had started painting,
and he painted one of them.
No, he had painted all the trim.
That's what I meant. Yeah, not just all of it, not all of it, just like one wall of trim. He had cut it out.
Yeah.
And the tape was still there with the paint on it. You know, the tape protects it from getting on the paint. And I said, "Dude, does this annoy you? Does it like drive you crazy?" And Carrie said it drive her crazy, but Chris said, "No, man, it's become normal."
It's like their decorations.
It's like he said, I don't even notice it anymore.
Who ended up finishing payment? Did you end up
going? I don't think so. I think when they sold the house, he hired a friend of mine. But what in your life right now, and it probably is going to take you to pause a moment. After this video, if you're watching live, if you're watching a pre-recorded episode right now and it's a different day than January the 28th, excuse me, I would challenge you right now to just pause the video and ask yourself, like, what's normal to me right now but really needs some attention? I've been overlooking this thing long enough, and maybe it's not the day-to-day practical stuff like the car maintenance or project in home improvement or area, but it has failing to read the Bible become normal. You hear what I'm saying? Not reading God's word a little bit has failing to skip out on church.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is, a lot of times people, they get so they miss church so much. Like, okay, you missed it that first Sunday, and you're like, oh, it's just one Sunday. Then the next Sunday, oh, okay, well, it's been 2 weeks, it'll be all right. Then the third Sunday, it's maybe that guilt's still there a little bit, but by the fourth Sunday, it's like church, that was old news. And,
Yeah, that's right.
Something new has come along. So.
And it can even happen quicker depending on what you replace it with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the lake.
If it's the lake or the beach or vacation, and all of those things, if you hear anything that we say, all of those things are very good and healthy.
We love vacations.
You need to go on vacation, right? You need to go to the beach. You need to spend time with your family. You need to spend time away from your family. You need to do all of those things. Just not every Sunday, right? And I get it, maybe Sunday is you only get 2 of them off a month, and you don't want to. It's an hour and a half, and nowadays with technology, you can watch it on your phone. But you need to be taught the word.
Yeah, and you need to have people that are going to notice when you're not there. I think it's important too that you're connected enough that when you're not there, someone's gonna notice that you're not there, so that you can't go.
Yeah, and I don't know what kind of church the viewers might be coming from. If it's a small church, they're going to notice, and especially if it's in a small town, they're not just going to notice. They're probably going to talk about it.
Yeah.
But if you're in a bigger church, or if you're new in church, so let me say it 3 different ways. If you're in a small church in a small town, they're going to know automatically. If you're in a larger church, they're not going to know unless you're within a small group or a ministry team of some sort.
Yeah, and but even like our church, people will be out, and we won't even know. And they'll be gone for 3 months and say, "Well, nobody called to check to see where I've been. I've been gone for 3 months," but because they're not connected, we don't know.
Yeah,
that they're gone. So.
And if you're new in church, if you've just found a new church, you've just relocated or just transferred from one church to another church, I think it's very important that you get connected right away.
Right away, yes.
Yeah, you need to get connected at some level. Even if you don't commit to serving every Sunday, connect with somebody that's over one of the ministry teams, small groups, get plugged in. Mm-hmm. Just ask.
Make yourself known. Yeah. That's the biggest thing. Say,
yeah.
I'm Beth and I'm here. Whoever you are, just let them know that, that you'll be coming, and just introduce yourself to somebody so that they can be expecting you.
I think, and the last thing I really want to kick on the dead horse is if at that church you can't figure out a way to get connected after 3 or 4, serious attempts, like you made attempts, you probably need to find a new church that you can get connected to. That's the point of church, right? So
it's connection. Yes. So let me continue to move on. So basically what the guy was saying was get rid of the tires, get some new tires, get an alignment. But I think that our culture says that if it's broke, buy a new one.
Yeah.
If your TV breaks,
you
buy a new one. If your bicycle breaks, you buy a new one. Now, growing up, my grandfather, if the TV was broken, he was, if the bicycle was broken, the chain fell off or whatever, he was going to fix it. And that used to be the culture. And, we took that in, like with our marriages, a long time ago, if you weren't getting along, you didn't just get a new wife, you fixed your marriage. And I think relationships, I hear all the time people say, well, I used to be friends with this person, but I'm not friends with them anymore.
Yeah.
And that is sad to me. That is really sad. It's like, don't just throw friendships out the window. If they're broke, you fix them.
And most of them, and I think what we're talking about here is, we're not talking about somebody that deeply wounded you or hurt you, inflicted some sort of pain. I'm talking about these trivial arguments, disagreements, and not just with relationships. We do this with jobs. We do this with churches, with family. The pastor preaches on money more than once a year.
That's all they talk about.
Yeah. I had somebody tell me one time that he said, it seems like you preach on money a whole lot. And I was like, really? I was like, well, when was the last time you were here? And it was 6 months prior. He was like, well, I was here a few weeks ago. I said, what series? And he told me the series, and I was like, that was 6 months ago. And if you think the preacher's preaching on money every Sunday, maybe you want to check your attendance calendar. But I think also we do it with businesses. Like, I've seen so many people ran on Facebook, like they're getting rid of Dish Network and they're going to DirecTV. It was a freaking storm, right? So
yeah.
But we do. We buy new, right?
Yeah, we don't fix it.
Mhm.
And I guess that's the reason that my husband decided that we were going to buy a fixer-upper for a house.
A house. That's right. We don't buy new. We fix it. That would make sense, right?
Yeah. So that may be one thing that we disagree on, but that's okay. So that's all good if you got time for the fixer-upper. But when you don't have time for the fixer-upper, then it's kind of hard to buy a fixer-upper. But so basically, I didn't need new tires. I did need new tires because having the bad alignment wore it out. So if your marriage is a wreck, you don't need a new spouse.
Yeah, you're right.
You need a new alignment.
Yeah.
And if you haven't figured it out yet, the alignment that we're talking about is not the alignment on our cars. It is the alignment between you and God. If your finances are a wreck, usually there's an alignment issue. Not always, but usually you're not putting God first.
I think too, like in marriages, if intimacy is a problem, it's probably not a performance deal or an attraction deal. Most times, it's an alignment deal. Like we do marriage counseling a lot, and when we find out there's a sexual problem or an intimacy problem, it's been misunderstood anyway. Yeah. Like they don't even understand what the intimacy is about, and I think that it's not an intimacy problem. It's not an attraction problem or a performance problem. It's an alignment.
Right, problem. And the same with communication. If communication is unclear, usually it's not a resource problem because we have no problem communicating. I mean, we have text messages. I mean, look at your phone to see how many text messages you send a day, and then we get the whole, well, he or she don't communicate with me, and I'm not buying that. Emails, FaceTime. There is no reason for lack of communication in the year of 2015. Really since the year of 2000. Another funny story is Jeff and I moved to Turkey in 2000. Year 2000.
Yeah, we moved there in October 2000.
Okay, and then so we moved back October of 2002.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when we moved to Turkey, we moved from California, the West Coast, which is probably 5 years ahead of the East Coast. Would you say about 5 years?
Maybe, yeah. They're a little more advanced, I would say.
Yeah. So, so we moved from California. Well, when we left California, very few people had cell phones. And normally the ones that did were very wealthy or were very important people.
And we're not talking about bag phones either. We're talking about the first time the little cell phones right?
Yeah. So we move away to Turkey. Well, we get to Turkey and almost all of the Turks had cell phones or had access to a cell phone, which we thought was like, gosh, what are they doing with these cell phones? But anyway, so we moved back to the States or back to Charleston. And we're walking around the mall, and everybody has a phone up to their head. I mean, everywhere you look, they had a phone up to their head. And Jeff and I were like, what in the world? These people can't even leave home. So we were like, we are not getting cell phones. So we're going to get a home phone. And if we're not at home, then they'll just have to wait to get in touch with us. That lasted about 2 or 3 days. And we went and hit up Verizon and got a cell phone. So what I'm saying is, with the unlimited plans, there is no reason for lack of communication.
Yeah, no, not at all. There's really no exception for failing to communicate. And I think this is just something practical that I think that can help people. We've seen relationships, Beth and I have seen relationships where people would get frustrated because the other person wouldn't either call them back or respond to a text message immediately. And I just think that goes back to communication. Have you set the thing forward, the standard, I guess is the word I'm looking for, that says I don't have time to respond during certain hours. I was talking with a guy this week out in Clayton, North Carolina, and he was telling me one of the obstacles he's having with his marriage is she just got a job as a bank teller, and they can't use their phones while they're at work. It's prohibited. And he's like, I'm having a hard time not being able to talk to my wife, where he could call her before any hour, any moment, and say, "Could you help me with this?" And he can't get to her. And he said it caused a lot of problems for a while. And he was like, it took him a while to get it, but I think it's failing to communicate, not just communication, clear communication, and communicated expectations when it comes to relationships and when it comes to decisions in our life. I think the other one is if trust. Maybe you have an issue with trust. Maybe you don't trust people, and that's why you job hop from job to job. Maybe you don't trust pastors, so you hop from church to church. Maybe you don't trust men, so you go in and out of relationships with men, or maybe you don't trust women, or whatever. But if trust is broken, it's not a problem with the past. It really isn't. It's the past that broke your trust. But the reason, you don't have trust today is an alignment issue. It's not a past issue. And I hear that a lot. They'll say, "You don't understand my past." And I don't. We don't understand everybody's past. I wish we did, so that we could be better equipped to speak to it. But God didn't call me to understand your
We don't
past.
even understand a lot of things about our own past, more or less.
That's true.
Someone else's.
Right. Like I don't understand the past 8 hours. I don't know what happened in the past 8 hours. It was just kind of a blur.
Whirlwind. You had 2 kids.
Yeah, it was. But I think just kind of tonight's message is about alignment,
because that's where it starts with relationships. And we're going to touch on, really every relationship that you'll be in. We're going to talk about relationships with your neighbors. We have a lot of insight on in that area.
But we're not just the series of this small group over the next 13 or 14 weeks is not going to be exclusive to relationships. This is going to be exclusive to living a life-giving life. That's what we want to help you do. I want to read a verse, and then we'll kind of unpack it, talk about it for a minute. And I'm going to leave you with a random thought. I promise you I'm going to, because it's been bugging me for about 3 or 4 days to just, do I ask this question or share it? But I want to read this verse to you. This is the word of Jesus. It's found in John 10, verse 10 and 11, and maybe you know it, maybe you don't. Just let me read it to you. It says this: "The thief's purpose is to steal, kill, and destroy." And Jesus says, "My purpose is to give them a rich and satisfying life." And that's very powerful when you understand that Jesus didn't come to take anything away. He came to add to our life. And he's very clear that there's an enemy out there that wants to take away. And listen, some people say that the enemy has put people in their path. And I believe that for some circumstances. But I believe that the enemy's number one target, and I think Beth would agree, is you. The most influential person in your life is you. So if the enemy can get into your head, right, he can really stop Jesus from giving this rich and satisfying life. We've heard it as abundant life. And then verse 11 says this. Jesus says, "I'm the good shepherd. The good shepherd sacrifices his life for the sheep." Now, I have a problem with that verse. I don't like being called a sheep. But I understand what Jesus is saying. Like, I don't know if y'all read the Bible and think about things like that. I sure do. I think, why has he got to call me a sheep? But Jesus is coming to say that I'm going to sacrifice for you, Jeff, and for you, Beth, and for whoever's watching. So when we talk about alignment and we talk about living a life-giving life, it starts with me. To live a life-giving life. It starts with Beth to live a life-giving life. It starts with you to live a life-giving life. And one of the very first things that you have to do, right, is figure out what's become normal in your life that's unnoticed and really needs some repair, right? I want to tell you, just if you fly on an airplane or have ever flown an airplane, you know the routine, and it's kind of getting comical now. You just about know the deal for that you fly. But I want you to know this, that and there's 2 points I want to show you from this story. The flight attendants get up there and they tell you the seat belts and how to pull it, and if we should lose cabin pressure, you put the oxygen mask on. And they always say this: if you're traveling with friends or small family members or small children, make sure what is
Small family.
yeah, that'd be us. We're a small family, but
We're
large.
a small people with
We're a
big
small
family.
people with a big family. That's right. But they say put the mask on you first, and then take care of them. So I would say this to you: your marriage will never be as good as it can be until you take care of you. Your relationships, whether it's in your neighborhood or at your job or even in your church, they'll never be as good as you're willing to work on yourself. Because we have to take care of ourselves first, and before we take care of others. So that's the first thing I want you to catch from the flight attendant analogy. Here's the second thing I want you to catch. This is really just came to me right now as I was saying it, and I think it's profound. So listen to me. The mask and the safety deal. The flight attendants, right? They stand up there every single flight and they say it. And here's why they say it. And they say it like everybody on the plane has never heard it before. But the truth is, most people have heard it. But there's one or two people on there that have never heard it. So can I say this to you? Maybe you're in relationships and you've heard the same deal over and over and over again. And you're like, man, I wish they'd stop talking about that. Or you're going to church and you're like, it's repetitive to me. Would you think, as you work on yourself, I want to tell you what will happen. Your desire and your concern and your compassion for others will grow. Right.
Yeah, that's true. Because every week you have to get up there and tell people about the connection card, and there's stuff. And I know people in the congregation probably think, okay, I could repeat this word for word, but it's important because they are people that have never been there.
Right.
Before,
Yeah.
So.
And I think that's true.
That's pretty much all.
Yeah,
I have for tonight.
That's pretty much it for tonight on living a life-giving relationship or living a life-giving life. In the aspect of just the preface, it is alignment. So as you prepare to leave and sign off, I want to share this with you. Share this on Facebook, okay? Share this on Twitter, so Instagram, whatever you use. Stay tuned. Follow Beth on Facebook. Follow me on Facebook. We'll post some information this week about our next episode coming up next week, and we'll share some stuff. But I want you to let us know that you were on it and that you enjoyed it. And I promised I would leave just a thought that I've been just kind of wrestling with this week. And here's the thought, okay? And we're done with living a life-giving life. This has absolutely nothing to do with it. This is just a random thought captured online. And sometimes I get real frustrated when I hear people say, I'm doing a study right now, trying to figure out why people have left the church or why people would ever consider leaving the church. And I've seen some pretty interesting stories, but I've also talked to some interesting people that tell me they left the church because they felt like every single Sunday they left the church, they were going to hell anyway. So they might as well just leave church and go to hell, and practically, okay? But I have wrestled with this thought. I teach God's word from the front to the back. I'm going to do a series on Revelation in 2016. I'm studying it this entire year to really understand it. But the very first book of the Bible that's ordered this way, then scholars say it wasn't written this order, but it's written and tells us what happens in the very beginning. Genesis 1:1. Most of you know it because every new year you probably all read it on the first day of the year because you're going to read the Bible, and it's the 28th day, and you've probably already quit or skipped or missed, and you want to give up, and it seems normal to you to not even read it. But I want to challenge you to read it. But read this one. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And I had this thought, like, why in the world would the common theme of pastors or preachers be hell when God is very clear that in the beginning he created heaven and earth? Mm-hmm. And if hell was so relevant to us today, and don't mishear me, I'm not erasing hell, but if it was so relevant to us teaching today, why isn't it in there? Why does it God say? That's just a random thought. That's not a theological position. I'm not a scholar on this at this point, but why doesn't it say in the beginning God created the heaven, the earth, and hell? You know, so you take that, chew on it a little bit. Maybe you read, maybe you. It's just something I do sometimes. Let's live a life-giving life together, and we'll see you guys next Monday night. No, it's Wednesday night. It's Wednesday night.
Wednesday.
It's Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I just want Beth to know this before I sign off, that when she does that, it looks like she's cutting her eyes at me. But y'all need to know that she loves me with everything she's got, and she's not cutting her eyes at me.
Does it look like that?
Yeah, sometimes. All right. Good night, guys. Love you guys. See you guys all next week.